welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south. In the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful November the 16th, 2020. Gone to the Puertes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, is troubling here in the South as it is across the rest of America. We just came off of a weekend, Charlton, where we had 450,000 Americans test positive for COVID-19, an horrific number. But I want to send a thank you out to our frontline healthcare workers trying to protect all those people, Charlton, our nurses, doctors, our first responders. Stay strong in the midst of this adversity.
Stay strong, and we'll stay strong with you. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. Also, all around the world, just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear Welcome to the Show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic. He will do his thing from 3,000 miles away, and I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Man, I love pausing, Big C. A lot of people on the pause. But I'll never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Big C, why is that so important to you?
Well, Charlton, as Donald Trump is out playing golf and turned his back on all of Americans, that meant he turned his back on our military veterans, Charlton. We lose some 24 veterans a day to suicide in this country, an horrific number. But as the president is out swinging the golf club, he's not thinking about those 24 veterans that we lose every day to suicide. Those veterans suffer in many ways, Charlton, physically, mentally, financially. But they also suffer from neglect.
Yeah.
That neglect comes from our federal government, turning their back on their needs. We give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, and we're glad that more stations are doing that, Charlton. But it needs to become more of a concerted American effort.
Yeah.
We know we're going through a tough time in these pandemic ages of America, but these veterans were going through their suicidal stage, Charlton, long before the pandemic hit, and even after it's over with, Charlton, these veterans still will be suffering from all of those various ailments. We need this country to come together and think about our veterans. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline number is one way, but it needs to be a concern of all Americans.
That makes so much sense, Big C. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. You can definitely get our veterans some help. They definitely need everyone to step up and do their part. Also, I'm very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV, on Dish TV, Direct TV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants and the Say Hey Kid, as well as a home run leader, Barry Bonds. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country to put people back to work, just like car dealerships do it. McDonald's does it, and sports teams are doing it too. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com, and you can get some help. Also, I want to make sure that everyone around the world, and I'm grateful that our program is heard all over the world, if you have a cell phone, just simply hold up the cell phone and speak into Google and say, Google, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see the apps pop up, whether it's iHeartRadio Podcast, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify. There's so many apps out there, and I really do appreciate it. Big C, do you like speaking to your phone and it does what you tell it, Big C? Your thoughts?
So my phone sometimes speaks to me, Charlton, and I haven't said anything to her. All of a sudden she says yes.
Yeah, you might want to get that phone exercised if that makes sense to you, Big C, if it starts talking without your permission. Also, everyone around the world, when you get hungry, and most people do, you can get the Big C Burger. It is a tasty burger. It comes with exotic meats. You get it at participating restaurants. It goes great with the Budweiser Zero. It has 0 alcohol, and it goes great with the Big C Burger. Man, I saw a lot of good things happen over the weekend. I know we have another football game tonight, Big C, but I want to start off ironically. I kind of feel awkward about it. I mean, to me, sports is beautiful, and it brings so many people together. But I watched the 84th Masters, and I want to say congratulations to the winner, and that was Dustin Johnson. He shot 20 under. But I think about it, before I even get into that, could you imagine how such a beautiful course, as far as I know, it's still a segregated course, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, it's what it is. It's the history of that organization, Charlton. It doesn't change just because the golf tournament is played there.
Yeah, that's a shame. And I bring it up because in today's climate, where we just got rid of, in my opinion, a bigot in the White House and Donald Trump, and a man that went out golfing as you had some knuckleheads protesting in major cities. And isn't it crazy? The person they're protesting, he gives so little concern about them, he went out golfing, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's how much he cares about him, is that he's about his own personal needs, Charlton. He's his own self-entity. He never gave a damn about the American public.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when someone throws you a party and you go by and honk the horn and go out golfing, that probably meant that you didn't care about the party that they threw. And a lot of the people that POTUS stirred up his mess about how he thinks he's still going to be the president, he drove right by them. He didn't even offer them a ride, if that makes sense to you. And so how does that tie into the Masters, the 84th Masters, still a segregated golf course? I really enjoyed how on Saturday the Mothership did a show where they normally have their morning football crew, and they did it from the Masters, Big C. And it's just the juxtaposition that I got from it is college football is very integrated. In fact, most of the Power 5 schools, they have African-American athletes. But they went to a place where the majority of the athletes that they cover on Saturday football games, they could not even join the club, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, every organization in America is not for everybody. I mean, the Masters is not the only segregated organization in America.
Yeah.
You know, and so you can't force people to integrate. I mean, but it also has to be something that people want. And if you don't have a desire to integrate a course, Charlton, you just go play at another.
Yeah. So, to me, as a West Coast guy, I wonder if people saw the optics behind that. Because you went and celebrated a sport that's made most broadcasters a millionaire, or at least several $100,000. And they went to a course that's a segregated course when 80% of the athletes in the Power 5 school are black, and they said nothing about how to integrate that course or how segregation is wrong. And in my mind, it's like they went and celebrated segregation, but if you don't know the history of that course, it kind of went by. It's kind of having a birthday party at the Klan's house, if that makes sense to you. Your thoughts?
Well, let me give you my perspective on it, Charlton. If you go back several weeks, when Kirk Herbstreit was on TV crying, talking about feeling the pain of black Americans during the struggles that they dealt with over the summer. You didn't see him crying at the Masters, did you? You didn't see him crying at Augusta.
No.
So, I mean, this is what segregation is. And to look anywhere beyond that, you have to spend some time in the South to really understand what segregation is. Living on the West Coast, all you can do is look at a newsreel or read clips. You have to walk in somebody's shoes to understand it.
Yeah. Well, ironically, to me, I saw that because we just got, in my opinion, bigotry out of the White House, and he still won't let go yet. And they went to a place where you can't get in if you're black. And I heard one of the black broadcasters, it was Desmond Howard, a former Heisman Trophy winner. He said, "Man, I can't wait to bring my kids here." And I said, "Does Desmond read? They won't let you in." Does that make sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, not understanding where you are, the history of it. Desmond's not from the South. He lives up in the Northeast.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have a true understanding, just like yourself, about what life is in the South.
Yeah.
Like I said, you can always talk about what you see on TV or read in the paper. You have to be down here and put a pair of those shoes on to understand what it is.
Yeah, well, it was kind of shocking to me that they went to a segregated course to do football that's all integrated for the most part. But that's just my opinion, and I love your perspective. But I do want to say your friend, Jim Nantz, he said that the golf universe is very happy. So he was celebrating Dustin Johnson's going 20 under at the Masters. I mean, I'm just looking at things differently when he said the universe is happy that he won the Masters. I just wonder what he meant by that. I mean, maybe he meant more than no more than what he said. But I still think with that segregated golf course, and the universe is happy that he went 20 under, and a place of segregation. To me, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I'll just go. You know, Johnson, he finished minus 20. That's his first green jacket, Big C. And ironically, Tiger Woods is the one that put it on his back, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it's his second major of the season, Charleston. He won the U.S. Open. He won the Masters by the lowest score ever in a major, 20 shots under, Charleston. And he even, knocked in 4 bogeys during his tournament time. So to be able to have a record low score and shoot a 20 under for the Masters is a great feat.
Yeah.
Tiger struggled. Tiger had a 10 on a par 3.
Yeah.
I normally get to an 8 and I pick it up. I leave it as a sandman, but he went to the ultimate embarrassment of a 10.
Yeah.
But he finished up with, 4 birdies on his final 5 holes. I guess that's a testament to his fertility, wanting to hang in there. But the tournament was all about Dustin Johnson. He got better every day of the tournament.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do when you plan on winning the Masters. But Dustin Johnson is the number 1 golfer in the world, and he showed it this weekend at Augusta.
It's amazing just drawing parallels. If you have Wayne Gretzky, arguably one of the top 5, I would say, great hockey players in the world, and then he's, the assumed soon-to-be father-in-law of Johnson. And I just wonder the conversations that he had with the great Wayne Gretzky and how he's been zeroed in. Johnson finished second last year to Tiger Woods, but not many people thought Tiger would win it. But I wonder if he's learned, and I'm sure he has, from conversations about staying focused and how to stay dialed in. He must have learned something from Gretzky. I'm just assuming that, but because not all father-in-laws and son-in-laws have those kind of conversations. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, these are both great athletes in their own right. When Wayne was playing hockey, Dustin was just a little kid, so it's not a crossover. They both use a stick to swing at the ball, Charlton, so they have that in common.
Yeah.
And, you learn when you're around greatness, you aspire to be great.
Yeah.
Wayne most likely was the greatest hockey player of all time. Dustin would like to be in that neighborhood. He's been chasing this jacket for a long time.
Yeah.
And being world number 1 and winning the Masters, being ranked world number 1, has a lot to say.
Yeah, McIlroy was up there trying to compete as well, and I really thought that DeChambeau would do better, but he seemed to get a little frustrated. Also, Mickelson didn't play very well. Jordan Spieth dropped off the scene. So just like Tiger did his thing for over 20 years, having 5 green jackets, you look at Spieth has a couple as well as Mickelson. They're not even competing either. So at least Tiger's still in the swing of things, and he's going to have a chance to get back in there and do his best in the world of golf. I forgot the guy's name, but he's 63 years old, and I think he shot 3 under. I can't remember his name for the life of me. I'll try to fill it out later. But for a 63-year-old man to go out there and compete with guys that are shooting 20 under, Big C, that gives everybody hope, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, golf is about a game of rhythm, Charlton. It's not a game of power. Ask DeChambeau that. Just because you can drive the ball for show don't mean that you can putt for dough.
Yeah.
And so until you can control that ball all the way up and down the fairway and up on the green, those long drives really don't mean anything.
Yeah, it may not mean anything at all. It's all fair and level war. I want to get to some of the things that happened down in the world of sports. And, over the weekend it's been a very busy weekend. But I want to just say congratulations to Johnson going minus 20. And thank you, Jim Nantz, for acknowledging Big C Sports. He paid homage to Big C Sports because he said a lot of golfers in the universe are very happy about what happened on that segregated golf course. It's all fair in Leavenworth. I want to jump to the world of Major League Baseball. The Marlins have made a groundbreaking hire, Big C, as a team announced that Kim In will become the team's new general manager, and joining the Marlins, making her the first Asian American general manager in Major League Baseball's history. and the first woman to ever act as a GM for the men's teams of any sport in North America. This is a culmination of a baseball career that began almost 30 years ago when she was hired as an interim by the Chicago White Sox front office. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you look at the lead that females have taken in America. You have Kamala Harris, the first woman, and even the first woman of color to become the vice president of the United States.
Yeah.
And now you have Ian, who has become the first woman to become general manager of a major sports organization in North America, a Major League Baseball team, the Florida Marlins. So as you look at the progressiveness of women in society and athletics and politics, there is no barriers anymore.
Yeah.
That you're going to have a woman running an all-male organization that's been for over 100 years.
Yep.
And now she is being the major decision maker in player movement and development with this organization.
Man, it must mean so much for young girls all over the world to start looking up. You know how Donald Trump said he wanted the housewives to vote for him, the white housewives, and a lot of them voted against him, even though some voted for him. But to see women in 2020, cracking that glass ceiling, even going back to Dustin Johnson with the Masters, it's ironic that in the year 2020, he shot -20, and that's the best score in the history of the Masters. I just think a lot of things lined up. Also for the year 2020, Big C, as women are rising, as you mentioned, Kamala Harris becoming the vice presidential-elect of the United States of America, 46th vice presidential-elect. Baseball Writers Association of America has awarded the 2020 National League Most Valuable Player to the Braves first baseman Freddie Freeman. He beat out fellow finalist Mookie Betts, who was my choice, and then Manny Machado for the award. It was a landslide victory for Freeman, who collected 28 of 30 first-place votes in this year's battling. Big C, your thoughts?
That's damn near unanimous. But you think about the years that Freddie Freeman had along with the Atlanta Braves prior to being eliminated by the Los Angeles Dodgers, Charlton, in the NL Finals. This is the miraculous turnaround that they've done under Brian Snedeker down in Atlanta the past 2 years, winning the NL East and advancing into the playoffs.
Yeah, baseball has so many stories. And Mookie Betts gets to at least crown, say that he's the World Series champion, even though I think some of the Dodgers are still, maybe they're out of quarantine now because of what your friend did down there with testing positive for COVID-19. And then believing that, it's not a bad deal, he can get all of his friends sick. But anyway, congratulations to anyone that wins anything, especially in today's climate. The Chicago White Sox, Big C, first baseman Jose Abreu won the American League Most Valuable Player Award for 2020, as voted on by the Baseball Writers Association of America. The Indians' third baseman Josh Ramirez and the Yankees' second baseman DJ LeMahieu has won the other finalists' honor, and Abreu will earn 21 of 30 first-place votes for the award. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Jose Abreu, Charlton, is one of the bright up-and-coming stars in the American League. Well, when you think about what he can do at the plate and also in the field, he was second in the AL in home runs, but it's going to see how it happens. He has a freestyling mentality, Charlton. He really loves to enjoy himself when he's in the dugout and on the diamond.
Yep.
We're going to find out how that meshes with the new manager, the town drunk, Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah.
Tommy La Russa.
Yeah, La Russa, Big C. Yeah, don't blame Tommy Lasorda. He might be drunk on pasta, but he's not drunk on the other libation that La Russa's on. Isn't it amazing that the Cubs, the White Sox organization, they told all the mothers against drunk driving, they told Matt they're going to stick with La Russa even though it's his second time appearing before the judge. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, when you have a habit, you have a habit. Addiction is an addiction. Maybe he needs some help with some counseling, Charlton, going to an alcohol rehab, other than, trying to run other young men's lives. I mean, this is how society is looked at when you're rich and white. Yeah,
they get the white treatment. They'll get them a pat on the back and maybe more alcohol to celebrate with, but it really is a serious issue. I had a couple of friends that dealt with AA, and they don't get their jobs back when they've done wrong, but it's all fair and level war. I want to run to the world of college football for the games that they were allowed to play because of COVID-19. And I'm thinking about the Pac-12, and I'm so glad that USC pulled out that win over Arizona, because I knew I wouldn't hear the last of it from you, Big C, had the referees kept trying to cheat them down in Arizona, but it's all fair and level war. How the Pac-12 revenue spending and distribution compares to the rest of the Power 5? You wonder why we're playing football out here in the West Coast? When the Pac-12, actually the Pac-10 expanded in 2011, they added Utah and Colorado, making it the Pac-12. it also signed the richest television deal in college sports history. The conference earned praise for the $3 billion 12-year deal that almost tripled the Pac-10's annual television revenues. It was a landmark deal at the time, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of cheddar, Charlton, when you're talking about funding an athletic conference, making it soluble for 12 teams to be there,
Yeah.
that you're going to have enough revenue going forward to make it good for all the programs involved, even though you're in some of those smaller markets out there on the West Coast.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of you think about it, California is a major area in the Bay Area with USC and UCLA in the Southern California, and then the Bay Area is Cal and Stanford. Up in the Washington, you have this. In the Seattle, you have the University of Washington. But the Washington State's not very populated. Neither is Oregon with the Eugene and Corvallis. And then Arizona is actually in Tempe. No, they're in Tucson, and then Arizona State's in Tempe, just the back door of Phoenix. But it's a lot of things happen. But I do want to compare when you look at my version of college football, how they do it right, compared to where they give you a paper bag and a congratulations in the SEC since the Pac-12 lockdown as historic agreement. The SEC, they followed behind Big C. They extended its own deal with ESPN in 2013. They created the SEC network. The SEC's revenue almost doubled in 2 years after the extension. The Big Ten jumped into the lead with the 2016 deal. They had a 6-year deal worth a reported $2.640 billion deal, and that vaulted the conference from $512 million in revenue in 2016 and 17 fiscal year to $758 million, which was the most by any league in the Power 5. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, that's the difference, Charlton, in how conferences look at how much they're promoted. And when you look at the Big Ten's deal, Charlton, it basically quadrupled what they had out there in the Pac-12. When you think about, they did theirs in half the time and basically the same amount of money that the Pac-12 did, the Big Ten did.
Yeah.
So when we look at, you can call it favoritism or whatever.
It's favoritism.
But when you have your own network,
yeah,
and it's a national network, and then you have the performance on the field that you get on the clipboard when you're signing those contracts.
Yeah.
That's what equals success.
Yeah, it equals success. And, you know, a lot of those teams have added onto their stadiums. I will note that in the Pac-12, Arizona State went down from about 77,000 capacity. In fact, they even hosted a couple of Super Bowls there. They now hold about 56,000. And so the Coliseum went from 92,000 to 78,000 because they expanded the side of the press box. But for the most part, you have a lot of growth in the SEC and a lot of TV revenue money, as why almost everybody's added onto their stadium in the last 5 years. But not all is well in the SEC college football. South Carolina, they fired head coach Will Muschamp. The program announced that Sunday. Why do you fire somebody on Sunday? I never understand. The school owes Muschamp over $13 million in the form of buyouts, according to Athletics' Josh Kendall. Big C, your thoughts?
And, you know, and that's the part, to me, it doesn't make any sense. But you just talked about the revenue that they make from their television contracts, Charlton.
Yeah.
And you still got to pay a guy $13 million and you let him go halfway through the season.
Yeah.
In this COVID-laden season that we have this year, Charlton, every coach seems like should have gotten a pass with all the problems that they have to work through.
Yeah, that's my thinking too. Who's going to come in and interview in a COVID environment? I know a lot of the country is expanding and they're spiking in COVID. And hopefully there's some good news from some vaccines. I know the stock market was jumping all over the place today because of that. But it doesn't make sense to fire a guy and you still got to give him $13 million and you only have a couple of games to go, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, but, you know, that's the money in the South versus the money out West. That $13 million probably would fund 3 or 4 programs in the Pac-12.
Yeah, but why'd they pay him in paperbacks, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, it's easy to watch that.
It's all fair. 11 words, Big C. College football, Big C's top 10 performances in Week 11 through college football. At least they gave him a chance to go out and interview someplace else, and he had $13 million to go along with him in that paperback, if that makes sense to you. Number 1, Sam Howell, quarterback, North Carolina. The Tar Heels boast one of the best offenses in the country, and their quarterback reminded Wake Forest that he's capable of doing his thing. Howell threw for 550 yards, and this is one game, Big C. This is not 2 games. 550 yards in one game, 6 touchdowns in one game. He rushed for 21 yards and a touchdown on the ground in the team's 59-53 comeback win. Big C, your thoughts?
I mean, Sam Howell has been starting since last year as a true freshman at North Carolina. He is just a few touchdowns away from breaking the school's all-time passing mark of touchdowns.
Yeah.
But this shows, why he's been one of the bright young arms in college football.
Yeah, and to do that in one game, I guess the ball's not that heavy after all. No, he would have been great under the Don Coryell system with at that time the San Diego Chargers, basically all fair and level war. Number 2, down in the Sunshine State for the University of Florida, quarterback Kyle Trask. Big C, this guy's good. He's a senior quarterback. He played in 6 games this season. He's thrown for at least 4 touchdowns in every game, including 6 on Saturday's game. It was a 63-35 beatdown of Arkansas, and Trask was 23 of 29, 356 yards before departing early in the fourth quarter. That shows you the defense. They don't play defense in the SEC, if that makes sense to you, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I guess you could say he went hog wild on that team and all over the yards, y'all.
Yeah.
Kyle Trask has had a phenomenal season this year with the Florida Gators. I mean, he has been one of those guys. You think about when he was in high school, he was a backup quarterback.
Wow.
To De'Aaron King, another quarterback that's playing across state at the University of Miami.
Yeah.
Where he would have been starting at most other schools in the state of Texas when he was playing. But once he's gotten his opportunity, when Felipe Franks got hurt last year with a broken ankle,
Yep.
he has never looked back.
Yeah, he's done his thing. I mean, he's thrown for so many yards in one game. In the same, you would think they would kind of save him for the next game when you're up 60-something points. Big C, all fair 11-4. Number 3, Ty Frogel of Indiana, wide receiver, the Hoosiers. Now, I thought Bobby Knapp came out of the retirement and started coaching football, but this is the Indiana football team. The Hoosiers wideout. He was electric in Indiana's 24-0 shutout over Michigan State. He caught 11 passes for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that was a career game high for him. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the last time that the Hoosiers were 4-0, it was a basketball team.
Yep.
But you think about this phenomenal season that they're having there in Bloomington, Charlton. This is just great for college football to have the University of Indiana undefeated 4 games into the season and leading the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's about to come to an end. They're going to face a couple of nuts from the state of Ohio, but don't look past them, Ohio. Something's happening, and they kicked Mike Pence out of the White House, and they're undefeated because they're all a lot happier, if that makes sense to you, Big C. Number 4, I'm telling you, this guy's doing his thing too. Caleb Huntley, Ball State. People may not hear much about him at Ball State, but he's a running back. He tallied 204 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns in the Wednesday game against Eastern Michigan, Big C. One of those scores was a game-winning 1-yard run to seal the deal. It was 38-31, Big C. Your thoughts?
And you think about it, Charlton, the University of Michigan and Michigan State let this kid get away. They could both use him right now, but to have a dominant 200-yard performance on the ground in college football at any level, Charlton, is great in this pass-happy era.
Yeah, he did his thing, Big C. I want to bring up another player from the West Coast that I think is going to be playing on Sundays a couple of years. And I mean, Devontae Adams played at Fresno State. You know, they had a guy by the name of Henry Ellert, Stephon Pace. They played at Fresno State. This guy reminds me a lot of him. Jalen Cooper. He's from Fresno State. He's a wide receiver. He had more catches and receiving yards than the entire Utah State receiving corps. Fresno State won 35-16. He's a sophomore, Big C. He had 10 catches, 202 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's a sophomore, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he's going to have to wait a little while to get to the NFL, but that's an outstanding performance. And you think about it, you outperform your opposing team in receptions and yards.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal feat.
Yeah.
But, it was a bad day all around for Utah State because on Sunday, the coach got fired and the interim head coach dismissed their starting quarterback.
Wow. I mean, why are people just going buck wild? I guess they call COVID madness. Some people just aren't thinking right. Firing people with a couple of games to go doesn't make any sense, but it's all fair and level war. Malik Willis, Big C, Liberty. He's a quarterback. He continues to get more done, both with his arms and his legs, Big C. 58-14 blowout in a win against Western Carolina. The Flames signal caller threw for 306 yards, 3 touchdowns. He wasn't done. He added 97 yards on the ground and found the end zone twice as well, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Malik Willis has been one of the pleasant surprises of the college football season. University of Liberty, Charlton, is 8-0. And when you think about Willis, he transferred from the University of Auburn because they did not want to play him. They wanted to play Bo Nix this freshman kid that beat up on Oregon last year. But Bo Nix is not having near the year that Willis is having. Willis will end up in the NFL. He's that type of quarterback, Charlton. He reminds a lot of people physically of Cam Newton, but he's a much better thrower.
Yeah, he's a much better thrower. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You know, last year Oregon was without 4 of their starting receivers, and they still play Auburn closer than Alabama. I think Auburn beat Alabama, but that makes sense last year, but that's last year. We'll get to what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. Just pick up your phone, press the Google, and play Big C Sports Podcast, and you'll get the show going, and I really appreciate that. And also on the list, Big C's thoughts, Gerald White, Big C. Cincinnati's a good team. Maybe not as beefy up front as Ohio State, but they're very talented. Linebacker White was present at every level on the defensive side of the ball. Cincinnati thoroughly neutralized East Carolina. It was 55-17. He had 7 tackles, Big C, 1 sack, and returned 1 interception for a touchdown. He was doing his thing, Big C. Your thoughts?
And you know, Charlton, I would love for the college football playoff to give some real consideration to the undefeated team coming out of the non-Power 5. When you look at Cincinnati, I don't see anybody on their schedule right now that's going to give them a hiccup. This is a great football team. And I know that the college football playoffs are set up for the Power 5 to make all the money.
Yep.
But they're going to have to start giving some serious considerations to teams like Cincinnati and BYU. Because when you go undefeated, you dominate everybody like Cincinnati's been doing, you deserve a seat at the table.
Yeah, but you said the operative word, Big C. Money, and they don't want to split the money, and it's all about the money grab. It's not about the crown of champion. It's about controlling and the collusion that goes with some of the Power 5s, but they only got 4 spots. Some people can't count. How can a college conference deciding that 5 teams get to send their champion onto a conference playoff or a national playoff that has 4 spots? It's all fair love and war, but sometimes it makes you laugh. Frank Harris, not the Franco Harris from the catch back in the day, Big C, the immaculate reception. Frank Harris, Texas, San Antonio. He's a quarterback. He was 22 of 26, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns. Big C, he ran for 43 yards and 2 scores in a 52-21 win over Texas El Paso. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, maybe he should put in a call to Ed Ogeron and say, how do you like me now?
Yeah.
LSU transfer
Yeah.
that went down to Southern Texas, Charlton, to San Antonio, and is doing his thing down there. The Roadrunners ran all up and down the field on Saturday.
Yeah, they like the Rose Bunny. I think it was the Rose Bunny and Bugs Bunny. It's like, why won't the Roadrunner understand he cannot outsmart the Bugs Bunny? It's all fair in level war. Shakur Brown, Michigan State cornerback. The one bright spot for the Spartans in a 24-0 loss to Indiana was Brown's ability in the secondary. He had 2 interceptions in the first half to keep the team in the game, and he also finished with 6 tackles. He had a solid day. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, Michigan State one of the disappointing teams in the Big Ten, just like Michigan, Charlton. They throttled Michigan, but that's the only game that they've won this year. This was an outstanding defensive performance, but he needs his offense to uphold their side of the ball also.
Yeah, he needs the offense to do their thing. But, you know, coming up on the conclusion of your thoughts for college football, and it's amazing that these players are still able to get enough games in. But this guy did his thing. His name is Daz Newsome, North Carolina wide receiver. He was one of Howe's favorite targets. Big C, I don't know if it was the basketball. I thought they were still playing football. 59-53 shootout win over Wake Forest, and he tallied 10 receptions, 189 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and he didn't even get paid for it, Big C.
Well, you know, that reminds you of a basketball game on Tobacco Road, Charlton, but when you have a quarterback like Howell that completes for 550 yards, you know you're going to have a big game from one of your receivers.
Yeah, that's a lot of catching. I mean, everybody says, throw me the ball, I'm open, but when you can do his thing like that, it's really impressive to see what happens in the world of college football. So I love just paying homage to these college football players. They're out doing the best they can to make sure that they get ready for the next level, and sometimes it doesn't come. But it's amazing, Big C. I want to just touch on the firing of some of our coaches. You know, the holidays are coming up. We talked about how the TV revenues have put a lot of money into the coffers of these universities. Not one dime of it goes to the players, Big C, and I want to get your thoughts again and why. I mean, we already know the reason that everybody don't want to push to get football back is because of the money that they're all raking in and don't have to pay anything out. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is what it's all about, whether it's the NFL, whether it's college football, Charleston. It's all about the money. It's not about the health and welfare of the student athletes or the professional athletes. It's about that the corporations, the executives can get paid.
Yeah, they've gotten paid. It's like sharecropping. They can do the work, but they don't get money. They just get maybe a little kickback for some side whatever's left over off the plate, if that makes sense to you. I want to jump to the NFL, and that's where all the college players want to hopefully end up someday. Maybe even Jim Harbaugh will head over there one day. But before, I know we're going to talk about some more stuff in college football, but before I get on the NFL, give me your feeling on Jim Harbaugh. I think that might be the biggest loss ever for him at Michigan, but especially in the big house. And I don't want to blame Jim for everything, but you gotta realize they force these kids to play, and sometimes kids, they have their own problems, let alone how to help the coach stay happy. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Jim Harbaugh said he takes accountability for the demise of the football program there at the University of Houston. Michigan. But we see a sea change in the Big Ten. You have Penn State with no wins this year, Charleston. You have, you got the University of Indiana that's undefeated. You got Northwestern that's undefeated. Athletes have the opportunity to go to any school that they want nowadays. It's not about the name of a school. It's about the opportunity to play with these athletes. So they don't care what the moniker is on their helmet as long as they got some grass on their cleats.
Yeah, as long as they got some grass on their cleats. And we'll touch on some more coming up in the world of college football. But I want to jump into the world of the NFL just for a moment. I know we have a game tonight also. But the NFL, they prevented coronavirus on the field. Off the field is another matter. When you think about it, Big C, the season passes the halfway mark. Doesn't seem like it, but more than 200 people on or off affiliated teams have been infected with COVID-19. The NFL has been grappling with controlling the virus, not just on the field but off, and sometimes it's far from it. And players are far from the only problem. Only one player, as far as I know, has been known to have been hospitalized, and most players have had mild symptoms and return after their mandatory isolation. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's only a matter of time before a player gets seriously ill. You spoke about the one player that's been hospitalized. But as COVID-19 is spreading in America, like I said, 450,000 Americans over the weekend contracted COVID-19. You can't protect athletes on any level, Charlton. The state of Arizona suspended all high school athletics today. So no high school athletics are going in the state of Arizona. So as you think about COVID-19 and you look at the hot spots around America, NFL teams are going to be hit. But when they're getting paid $30 million to play a game, you're going to see players put on the COVID-19 reserve list. You saw that with the Raiders when they put their whole offensive line on the list. They didn't give a damn about Derek Carr.
No.
They said, we're going to put the offensive line on the COVID list. Go out there and take your best shot.
Yeah, and the Raiders have been taking their shots and doing a fine job. It's all fair and love and war, but I do want to get into what happened. I'm going to get Big C's thoughts on what we actually learned from Week 10 in the NFL. And if you think about so many great plays have been happening and some games going down to the wire, that's why I love NFL football. I love seeing the guys go at it, and it's like mano a mano, and they figure out. I don't know how they shut down DK Metcalf. I thought Wilson had a worse game. It wasn't about Ramsey doing his thing, but that's just my opinion. But I'm going to go to a player that down in Texas, and I know people who don't even follow football, and they were asking me, did you see the catch? You see the catch? I said, yeah, the catch from Dwight Clark from Joe Montana. They say, no, the one down in the desert. It was DeAndre Hopkins, Big C, and he was playing for the Houston Texans. He played for Houston last year. Give me your thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins and the magic that he brought to the desert, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's what you call a Hail Murray in that situation. Here's a team, Buffalo Bills. They score a touchdown, the game go-ahead touchdown with 37 seconds.
Yeah.
In professional football, you figure that's enough time for the game to be over.
Yeah.
But 3 plays later, we saw one of the most miraculous plays of the year with Kyler Murray escaping a potential sack rolling to his left. But think about this. He's a right-handed quarterback.
Yeah.
But rolling to his left and launching a 55-yard ball in the air into the hands of DeAndre Hopkins with 3 defenders around. One of the more spectacular plays that you're going to see in the NFL or any level of football.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I want to take you back to when I think about how, Murray's amazing. And he did his thing when he was at Allen High School down in Texas. And he was going to go, I think, to Texas A&M, and they didn't keep him, and he ended up going to Oklahoma. And then he got picked up by the Oakland A's for baseball. A lot of the pundits said he wasn't good enough to play NFL football. He wasn't big enough. He was too small and didn't have the ability to stand in the pocket and throw downfield. Big C, I'm going to ask you, is there any other quarterback that could have made that play? He was supposed to be sacked on that play, but he's a right-handed quarterback. Not only did he avoid the sack, he ran to the sideline, and it was not a Hail Mary. He threw the ball to Hopkins, Big C. You ever see anyone that could do that? Your thoughts?
Well, ironically, 2 years ago down in that same stadium, Aaron Rodgers threw that same pass, Charlton. 2 years ago down in Arizona, and 3 years ago he threw one going to his right in Detroit, last play of the game that ended up in a touchdown. But one of the ironic things about Kyler Murray and his ability, there are really 4 quarterbacks in the NFL that can make those kind of plays. We talked about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But if you look at Russell Wilson, he commonly makes that type of play.
Yeah.
And they have the same type of background, Charlton, that they were baseball players.
Yeah.
And so baseball players can always throw the ball moving to the opposite direction. You look at Patrick Mahomes there in Kansas City. He was a baseball player, son of a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
He has made those throws, Charlton, going opposite of the natural motion of his body and heaving the ball downfield and ending up in great things happening for their team.
Yeah, I mean, that was incredible. And I said starting the year that Arizona might be the second team to come out of the NFC West, but they might be the first. They got a big matchup coming up when two dirty birds fighting coming up against Seattle. It's for all the marbles, in my opinion. Also, Ronald Jones II, Big C, he had a point to prove. That good a boy, he ran like Tony Dorsett back in the day, but this time he did it for Tampa to score, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, Ronald Jones, Charlton, had the second longest run in NFL history. There are 3 other backs that have runs that are longer than him. Do you know who they are?
No.
Let's see. Tony Dorsett did it against Minnesota.
Yeah.
Ahmad Green did it with the Green Bay Packers. And last year, Derrick Henry did it for Tennessee. They all went 99. Ronald Jones, since he was out of SC, didn't have the legs to go 99. He could only go 98. But a great play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when you think about it. Last week, they only had 6 yards in the game rushing. Ronald Jones had 5 carries, so that SC guy didn't even average a yard a carry last week in their loss. But they came back, Charlton, with grand fare against the conference game in Carolina and just ran the Panthers off the field.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the way they ran the ball. They're a good team. They should run the ball more down there in Tampa. That's just my opinion. Something's not right with the Baltimore Ravens. I love defending Lamar Jackson. I think he's dynamic. I think he has the ability to take over a game as long as they're about even or ahead. But their team is not built to come from behind. I'm not going to lay that all on Jackson. I just think sometimes they've been exposed by teams that get the lead on them. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, if you were picking quarterbacks right now, Charlton, who would you take, Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson? Throwing out the MVP from last year because that's past tense.
Yeah,
you have to look at what quarterbacks are doing right now.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson has not built upon that platform that he became the MVP of the NFL with, Charlton. And that's on him. He has to become better. You can look at the whole dynamics of a team, but you also got to start with the leadership or lack of leadership at quarterback. And this team is just not getting it right now. His passing hasn't been on mark where it should be. He's been hesitant to run, but also they've been without Mark Ingram in the backfield. He just came back off an injury.
Yeah.
He has not been his dynamic, explosive self. So to have that 1-2 combination in the backfield has been lacking for the Ravens this year. And when you think about the Ravens, Charlton, they've lost to the good teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
They've lost to the Steelers. They've lost to the Chiefs. And then they lost to the Patriots, who are not a good team. All the other teams that the Ravens have beat this year, Charlton, they don't have more than 2 victories.
Yeah, that's a good point, Big C. And then they had another injury last night. So, I mean, everybody gets injured in the NFL. but I still think they're going to be formidable. They're a playoff team, but I don't see them beating Pittsburgh coming down the stretch, and people grow. But I want to turn to the other side of the coin, Big C, because I think it's the first time, and I may be wrong, in the history of the NFL that two former Heisman Trophy winners have played each other in the NFL, and I think with Auburn, Cam Newton won a national championship. So what I saw last night in Cam Newton came off with that surgery, but Cam Newton played a great game last night. They have no receivers that you can really count on in New England. And Burke has a great running back. He reminds me of Rocky Bleier from the Steelers back in the day, Big C. But I thought Cam did his thing. It was rain was pouring like you were in the shower. I haven't seen that much water since I took a shower last week, Big C, if that makes sense to you. But Cam Newton, you didn't notice him last night because he had a good game, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I noticed him on a play when they had the ball 3rd and 5 at about the 5-yard line, when he had a receiver wide open in the end zone.
It was raining.
He threw the ball 2 yards short of the receiver. Cam Newton does not use his legs when he throws the ball. He tries to make it all work with his arm, and it's not fair, Charlton. The wide receiver who threw the touchdown pass to Burkhead had a better throwing motion than what Cam Newton had. Cam Newton is still lackluster as a quarterback right now. If he played up to his former ability, the New England Patriots probably would have 2 losses on the season. But I don't see Cam Newton ever elevating back to that again.
Yeah, I disagree slightly because it was downpouring rain, and he had a hard time seeing. But I thought he played a great game.
But if you look at the passes that Lamar Jackson threw, especially the last pass that Lamar Jackson threw at the end of the game when he threw it out to J.K. Dobbs,
yeah,
that was a perfect pass in a monsoon.
Yeah.
And when Cam Newton threw the ball 2 yards short of the receiver into the ground, it was clear at that point early in the game in the second quarter.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have more experience in the rain than I do, but I still think I want to congratulate him. He's won 2 in a row, and you know that crowd and the fan base in New England doesn't like him anyway, no matter how much he does. I want to go to the future, Big C. There was a movie back in the day. It was called Back in the Future or Back to the Future. The Miami Dolphins, I love their throwback uniforms. Please burn the new ones. Those old ones, that's what they wore when they won. They went undefeated. The only team, the 1972 Dolphins, they were wearing the same uniforms last night. They looked much better than that Nouveau Riche stuff they had. But Miami, there's something about that team. This team, they're growing together. A lot of people saying they're doing it 2 years too soon. Give me your feeling. They're going to challenge for the AFC East, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this team has been all about defense and special teams, Charlton. I know they've won 3 consecutive games that Tua has started, but it hasn't been about Tua, Charlton. It's been about the defense getting turnovers and scoring. It's been about the special teams getting turnovers and scoring, Charlton, or putting the offense in great field position. Because when you look at Tua's passing yards, they're really not anything to turn a light switch on about. It's been about the defense of Brian Flores and the special teams. Those 2 things he specialized in New England, and he's brought that down to South Beach, Dolphins, and made the Dolphins a very competitive team.
You think? I mean, my heart bleeds for the Los Angeles Chargers. Basically, the lightning bolts on the side of the helmet look good, but they've been struck by lightning. It seems they were right in the game. I know Herbert threw an interception, and that didn't help because that Miami defense played a lot better than people thought. But Herbert didn't have his typical good rookie year game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it comes about the teams that you're playing. When you think about Brian Flores, people don't understand he was the mastermind of the defense in New England for years.
Yeah.
He has 5 Super Bowl rings as a defensive coordinator and assistant down in New England.
Yeah.
And now he's come down to Miami. And if you look at how Miami is playing defensively, they will remind you a lot of the New England Patriots with what Brian Flores has implemented. He's gotten his mindset across to the players.
Yeah.
Last year, everybody said they were tanking for Tua. What are they taking for now? The playoffs?
They're taking for the playoff and the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats, and it goes great with the Budweiser Zero. It comes with 0 alcohol. It's all fair and level. Big C, my goodness, I'm looking forward to the game coming up on the West Coast. Maybe the game of the week on the West Coast, or maybe of all of NFL football. The Seattle Seahawks will take on the Arizona Cardinals. But Seattle, something's up with Russell Houdini Wilson. You know, Houdini thought he had a lock in the cage, and he was trying to get out of it. He couldn't. He fell against the cage and it opened. But he's been caged up. He's been a turnover machine for the last 2 weeks in a row, Big C, and that's not like Wilson. In fact, he's been a turnover machine, and no one really knows why. He had a play down at the SoFi Stadium where he could have run in for a touchdown from about the 20-yard line, but he threw back across the field, across his body, and threw an interception. They can't blame the defense this week, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I think a big problem with Russell Wilson is that he's trying to compensate for the defense. When you look at this Seattle defense, they have a whole lot of ineptitude on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
And I think he's always pressing to think, I got to make a big play after another big play.
Yeah.
He went into this game without his top 2 running backs. The running back that they played in this game, Charlton, they picked him up off the practice roster of another team last week.
Yeah.
So this offense is put together with bits and pieces. The defense is struggling in every way. Jamal Adams came back out, played about a quarter. He was gone again.
Yeah.
So the Seattle defense, everybody's figured it out. They're trying to play cover 3 all game long, which leaves them very vulnerable in the back end, and other teams have exploited it. They can't stop the run. All the pressure's been on Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it has been on Wilson, but I just thought he should have run. I mean, I won't say the older Russell, but most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, Russell would have run that ball in for a score, or at least down inside the 5-yard line. And this time he pulled up and threw back across the field, and it was interception. So he hasn't been on his mojo lately, but we'll see what happens. Chase Young, you think he owes his teammates an apology, Big C? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I honestly do, Charlton. Here it is. The Detroit Lions, I mean, they were in second and nowhere land.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford over to a receiver that should have ended the game. Chase Young goes up and gets a personal foul penalty, Charlton, puts them in field goal range for Matt Prater.
Yeah.
All Matt Prater did was knock in a 59-yard field goal to give the Detroit Lions a victory over the Washington football team.
Yeah.
Because of the stupid bonehead play by their number 1 draft pick, Chase Young.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. The guys are pumped up on momentum and everything, and it just doesn't turn out right. But that's Big C's thoughts on some things that happened over the weekend. I would say when you look at what happened with Hopkins, Big C, they should put a statue down in Arizona and put his picture on it, because that was just an incredible play. To go up and you go between 3 defensive backs, they had so much respect for the guy that Houston traded. They had 3 players on him on the final play of the game, and it still wasn't enough, and he pulled in the win for Arizona. Closing out last week's scores.
Well, Charlton,
yeah.
If you look at that game in totality, the 2 best trades in the offseason were in that game.
Yeah.
When you think about Stephon Diggs for the Buffalo Bills
Yeah.
and what he has done, he caught what they thought was going to be the game-winning touchdown from Josh Allen.
Yeah.
On the flip side, when you look at DeAndre Hopkins, and he ended up catching the eventual game-winning pass from Kyler Murray.
Yep.
Think about how your cousin in Minnesota is feeling
Yeah.
with Diggs saying, just throw me the damn ball. But he can't get the ball downfield with Diggs, so they sent Diggs out of town.
Yeah.
And Diggs is with a team that he's helping win.
Yeah.
And your cousin is struggling in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And then when you look at Hopkins, that you had O'Brien talking about, well, he just wasn't a fit
Yeah.
for the future of the organization. But he's the future of the Cardinals, and O'Brien has no future in the NFL.
Yeah. And it shows that a bird can outjump a buffalo, and that makes it all fair level war. Speaking of Buffalo, Big C, your thoughts tonight? Minnesota Vikings playing the Chicago Bears. Not the game that people thought it would have been when the season began, but give me your feeling on what may happen for these teams, and both of them may miss the playoffs. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this game is all about your cousin reading the game plan in Minnesota. Hand
Yeah.
the damn ball off and let the boy cook when
Yeah.
he's in the backfield.
Yeah, they
Get
could.
the ball to Dalvin Cook, who has had 469 yards of total offense in the last 2 games. That's more yards than your cousin has had throwing the ball in the last 3 games. So
Yeah.
have some sensibility.
Yeah.
Get a boy some rhythm and let him just hand the ball off all night long.
Yeah.
When you look at Chicago, this is a team that don't have a running back.
Yeah.
They lost their top rusher, David Montgomery, last week. Nick Foles is struggling at quarterback. They don't even have a backup for him. They brought a kid off the practice roster a couple of weeks ago, Tyler Bray,
Yep.
because Trubisky has a shoulder injury. So this is all about Foles. Can he get off the snide tonight? Because if he doesn't win tonight against your cousin in Minnesota,
Yeah.
the season for the Bears could be over.
Yeah, I think Tyler Bray came out of the Central Valley not that far from Fireball, went to Kingsburg High School, I believe, and went to the University of Tennessee, and they're pulling him off the heap. It's all fair. in Leavenworth. I want to just run down the recap of the NFL Big C. The Giants 27, the Eagles. You know, it's not a good thing. I thought the Eagles would fly in New York, either LaGuardia or Kennedy Airport, but Lurie made them fly in on their own wings, Big C, is awesome.
Well, you know, this Eagle team is really paltry right now.
Yeah.
And Carson Wentz, I mean, all the proponents out there are protecting him, saying he's not the problem with the Eagles. And that's the same thing that they're saying in New England about Cam Newton.
Yeah.
If you can't throw the ball to an open receiver, then you're the problem.
Yeah.
And the solution has to be better than the problem, Dalton. Everyone is crying that the Eagles don't play Jalen Hurts, because if Jalen Hurts goes out there and has some success, what do you do with Carson Wentz' $111 million guaranteed $1 million contract?
Yeah, you got to put the team over the player. I mean, Donovan McNabb is a lot like Jalen Hurts, or Hurts is a lot like McNabb, but if they don't play it, you never get to find out. Congratulations to the New York Football Giants. And then you have the Green Bay Packers 24-20 over the Jacksonville Jaguars doing their thing. The Detroit Lions with a come-from-behind win over the Washington Football Team. But I'm so proud you got a guy that came in from Washington that almost lost his leg, Big C, and Alex Smith, and he threw for more yards than he's thrown for in his career, even though they lost, Big C. Your thoughts?
I mean, you talk about a feel-good story and what Alex Smith has done with this Washington Football Club. This is the reason why I said stupid bonehead play by Chase Young. I don't care if you're a rookie or you're a 5-year veteran, Charles. Once the quarterback is throwing the ball, you know don't put hands on it.
Yeah.
That's what Chase Young did. Alex Smith has been a total inspiration since his return to the club this year. 393 yards on Sunday's game against the Lions. Did everything he could to put the Washington Football Club in position to win. It's just Chase Young blew it for him.
Yeah, Chase Young blew it for him, trying to be a tough guy or whatever it was. You got to keep your head up. Don't close your eyes when you're going in and making a tackle. But good job, Alex Smith, coming back. The Cleveland Browns 10-7 over the Texans, and I'm sure the Texans don't need Watkins. They're not going anywhere this year. The Rams 23, the Seahawks 16. Congratulations to the Rams getting another win in that beautiful stadium. The Cardinals over the Bills 32-30 in the game of the week. You know, down in Las Vegas, those guys are pretty smart. They actually had the point spread was 1.5. 1.5, Big C, if they cover by 2. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, the guys in Vegas know what it takes. But, you know, you look at the Cardinals, instead of kicking the extra point, the last play, Charlton, after scoring the touchdown, they just took a knee and decided to do an onside kick to make sure the point spread was covered. Yeah,
Vegas knows something. The Dolphins 29, the Chargers 21 in a great game. The Raiders. You know, it took a lot about John Gruden and getting $100 million, but the Raiders put a beat down over the Denver Broncos. And I'm just wondering, how does the Broncos keep their quarterback on the job? I mean, he threw like an interception, like it was a handoff, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Drew Lock has been that way the last 3 weeks, Charlton. You think about he scored a victory the last play against the Chargers, but who don't? And then, you know, he had a last-second drive against the Falcons that they thought they might be able to pull that out.
Yeah.
He came up short. But he came up real short against the Raiders down in Vegas, Charlton. I guess he spent too much time in the casino the night before.
Yeah, he may have done that. Hey, but everything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. The Pittsburgh Mighty Steelers go to 8-0. They have the best record in the NFL universe. They're 8-0. Big C. They put a beat down on the Cincinnati Bengals. Mike Tomlin doing his thing. The Saints go marching in over the 49ers by the score of 27-13. And I'm just telling you, there's a lot of good football. The Patriots beat the Ravens 23-17.
The Saints are going to be in trouble going forward.
Yeah.
Drew Brees broke a couple of ribs on each side, Charlton. He also had a punctured lung.
Wow.
So the team is now in the hands of Jameis Winston. And last year, if you recall, Drew Brees broke his thumb against the Rams.
Yeah.
And Teddy Bridgewater took over. They went on a 5-0 streak.
Yeah.
Drew Brees is going to be out at least the same amount of time, 4 to 5 weeks. And Jameis Winston is going to be at the helm for the Saints.
Well, I'm telling you, sometimes, Jameis, the universe gives you a chance for redemption. You threw for 5,000 yards, cut out the interceptions, and maybe he's learned something. I still look at the Saints being able to win that NFC South. In the final moments, the NFL standings, Big C's thoughts, AFC East, Buffalo Bills 7-3, Miami Dolphins are 6-3, the Patriots are 4-5, the Jets are 0-9 in the AFC North. The Steelers are 9-0, the Ravens 6-3, Cleveland Browns 6-3, the Bengals 2-6-1. In the AFC South, you have the Indianapolis Colts 6-3, Tennessee Titans 6-3, the Texans 2-7, and the Jacksonville Jaguars 1-8. AFC West, the Kansas City Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, are 8-1. The Raiders out of Las Vegas are 6-3. The Broncos are 3-6. The Chargers 2-7. In the NFC East, the Eagles 3-5-1. The play hurts. Get Wentz to get some help. Something's going on with them. The Giants 3-7. Washington football team is 2-7. The Cowboys are 2-6. Is Jerry Jones going to have to sell his yacht, Big C?
Well, no, Jerry got that oil money. That money's coming around for a long time. But the Dallas Cowboys got to look at themselves and being smart. Right now, in the NFC East, the New York Giants are the hottest team in that division, and most likely will win it with 6 wins.
Yeah, they're doing their thing. The Green Bay Packers in the NFC North 7-2. The Bears are 5-4. The Bears are who we thought they were. The Lions are 4-5. The Vikings 3-5. NFC South, New Orleans Saints are 7-2. Come on, Jameis, you can do it. The Buccaneers are 7-3. The Falcons 3-7. And that doesn't make Arthur Blank happy. But the Panthers are 3-7 in the NFC West. The best division of football. The Arizona Cardinals are 6-3. The Rams are 6-3. The Seahawks are 6-3. And the 49ers are 4-6. Big C, there's a lot of things going on in the world of sports, and I love it all. I hope that all the people can stay safe. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, we just came off one of the greatest weekends of sports in golf and college and professional football. And we still got a ways to go. Hopefully everybody stays safe from COVID-19. I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, first responders. They do their best every day to keep people safe from COVID-19.
They keep everybody safe, and you can stay safe too every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.